All right, so again, good evening. The Buddha is recorded in the Dhammapada as having said, Mavamaniyeta punyasa namanglan agamisati Udabin dunipalena Udakumbaho pipurati Purati dhero punyasa Tohoka tohokampi achina. That's number 122 in the Dhammapada, meaning do not disregard merit, saying it will not come to me. By the falling of drops, even a water jar is filled. Likewise, the good person, gathering little by little, fills himself with good. And so how on earth is that relevant? Who here during the meditation got lost in thought at some point and came back to what your intended meditation was? Anybody? No. Anyone on Zoom? Okay, some of you. All right. So when you became aware of that whole incident, did it linger in your mind that you had lost your train of thought, lost your meditation, lost your mindfulness? Or did it come to your attention that, hey, I came back, yay? Who said, yay, I came back? With a good pat on the back. Excellent, excellent. That's what I want to see. Now, can you imagine how much easier it is to return to meditation if it's filled with little yay, I did that moments, as opposed to you bad meditator, you this, you this. I strongly encourage us all to notice the little water drops that are filling up the pot. Have you ever had a leak that you put a pot under? It doesn't it fill up a little faster than you expected? And then it just kind of runs everywhere sometimes, right? And so I do think that the goodness that we're bringing into our lives is filling up. You know, our spiritual practice is moving forward, and it really helps the whole thing when we are focused on that goodness, when we give ourselves the credit for where we've done good. Who here has fed children today? Who here has fed a pet today? Who here has done basic hygiene today? Now, some of you are just not cooperating, I'm sure. Who here held back unkind words at some point today? Who here shifted your attention from something that was going to make you unpleasant to be around if you focused on it anymore at some point? Look at all this good work that's going on. You guys can't see the group, but they're all with us. Yeah, you're really on it. You're doing well. You're doing great. Your water pot is filling drop by drop. And I want you to rejoice in that. And I want you to be encouraged by that. Now, the main thing I want to be focused on in the talk today is about how our spiritual development is not limited to whatever we do on the cushion. And here's the metaphor. A little too simple, but here it is. Imagine that you have a couple, a couple of people, long-term relationship who say, we really need a good relationship. Let's have a date night. So they have a date night and all goes nicely. And they're like, okay, done. So it doesn't matter how we speak to each other at breakfast. It doesn't matter whether we're considerate about the use of the vehicle or vehicles. It doesn't matter if we're considerate about who does what in the picking up of the house, or or use of finances or anything. We had a good date night. That's what counted, right? And in fact, there are multiple date nights and each one is going well enough, and that'll settle it all, right? Anyone here in a long-term relationship? Anyone find it a little bit more work than just a date night or two here and there? All right, so you have a date with your mind on the cushion, right? Is that the be all and end all of your spiritual development? I hope not. That's why the Buddha gave us a whole eightfold path, because it's what we're doing every waking moment. That is our spiritual path. And we're either walking in a beautiful direction or we're going some other direction every waking moment. You know, think of that might not make sense, but think of like a boat tacking the sails, you know, as it goes across a lake. You know, it goes a little bit this way, it goes a little that way, it goes a little this way. Is it going to make it to the other side or not? I don't know. It keeps putting the sails to go the other way a bit. Probably a few of you know about this eightfold path. Well, probably a few of you know how it works. There's a way to divvy it up that you don't have the whole long list. The whole long list is right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right speech, action, livelihood. Thank you. Right effort, right mindfulness, and right samadhi or stillness, or some, you could say, concentration. Okay, so there's your eightfold path, and you know, for people new to Buddhism, it's number one in the boring stuff that you probably don't want to hear about. But another way to look at it, the Buddha divided it up into three parts: the wisdom part, the so that's the panya, wisdom, the sila or virtue, and am I loud enough? Maybe a little more. Okay. So there's the wisdom part, the panya, the sila or virtue, or you could just say harmlessness, because all the examples of sila come down to harmlessness, and then the let's see, senior moment. I'm only 60, almost not even quite 60. That was a total senior moment. Okay, sila samadhi panya. Okay, and then the samadhi part, the effort, the mindfulness, and the samadhi per se, or stillness. So in the wisdom part of the path, we need at least some basic understanding of how this whole mind-body experience fits together. Okay, so here's you. There's you right here and now. There's you. Okay. And there's like this spark of you that's just like happening right here and now, moment by moment. Okay, as we understand it, that's not a permanent self, permanent being, permanent soul. That's a culmination of phenomena that's come up to this point. And this spark of me, I am, is going to keep going until you majorly interrupt it with ruin it with spiritual development. Okay, so basically we're trying to break the whole system. Okay, this is not pleasing everybody. Maybe I'll back off on that a little bit. So there's the you, and it's here, and it's here, and it's here. And it's in relationship with the body. And it's in relationship with the world, whatever is manifesting as the world for this self at the moment. And it's in relationship with it, with the mind itself. Like so this experience of I'm here, this is it, I am. Actually a very dynamic thing that it continues to happen because we haven't undone the system that makes it happen. This dynamic self, it's just so much going on with this. And so if we have this right view, number one of the Eightfold Path, there's a number of different angles of what can be right view. That is liberating. A fundamental part of that is to understand that there really is karma. whatever you're doing by body, speech, mind, here and now, this split second is helping to create the conditions for the next split second and the next and the next. It's like the springboard for your next moment, in addition to everything that's come before. So that being the case, it's really important to sort out wholesomeness versus unwholesomeness, because you want your springboard aimed at a beautiful direction, not towards the sewer, right? So you want your springboard aimed in a beautiful way. So if you just get that, if there's karma, that there's wholesome versus unwholesome, that everything you're doing by body, speech, and mind seriously matters to you in the world. That's a really brilliant, important angle. And with that, you're really on a path. But if you happen to have a copy of the Middle Length Discourses or know how to access it easily online, like through Sutta Central, then you could look at number 9 in the Middle Length, number 9 in that. So the 9th chapter, number 9, Sammaditthi Sutta by, it's a talk by Venerable Sariputta, in which he explains 16 different ways you can have right view that's liberating. So that's not the only way, but that is a very solid, fundamental way. A lot of times when you're studying Eightfold Path, the standard way of describing it is in terms of the Four Noble Truths. That's a very kind of advanced way to understand it. I think just getting it, that what you do really matters. That's a really good start. And with that, progress. What's the next step in the Eightfold Path? Anyone know? So the first was Samma Ditthi. Ditthi is having to do with seeing. And Samma, I'm told, is from ancient music theory, meaning in tune, like tuning your guitar in tune, in harmony. So harmonious understanding, seeing rightly, and it right in terms of reality, the whole mind-body setup, your whole the whole universe, like in tune with what's real. Okay, so what's number 2, the Eightfold Path? Anyone? Right intention, Samma Sankappo. So right intention is broken in 3 parts: Nekama Sankappo, Avyavada Sankappo, Avihingsa Sankappo. So that's intention of renunciation. Right thought is another legit translation, but intention of renunciation, intention of non-hate, intention of non-cruelty, which is not the most bright, exciting way of translating it. I like to say open-hearted letting go, loving kindness, compassion. It's just a little more encouraging, I think. Why would you have those intentions? Because what you do matters. And you're creating the springboard. You're bouncing off the springboard of the next moment by what you're doing right here and now. You really want to have shut down, grasping, selfish attitudes? You want the result of that? You want the result of hate? You want the result of cruelty? I mean, they're kind of tasty at the moment, but no, no, in the long term, you do not want this. If you understand rightly from that first step, the second one is quite intuitive. And 3, 4, 5, speech, action, and livelihood are also a bit intuitive too. What do you want to be putting out there in the world that you would be happy to have coming back at you on some level? Right? Okay, well, put out there what you'd be happy having come back at you. You're creating these conditions. You're creating the mind that's going to be receiving all this, that can even understand what's happening around you. It can place itself in a position to respond gracefully and beautifully, or not. Like you're generating a lot here. So yeah, right understanding, right intention, then the sila. So the wisdom part kind of settled, and the sila, virtue part, kind of solves itself. Right livelihood can have some specific ins and outs to it. An example my teacher gave was that a cook for an army may not be thinking, let me fill their stomachs so they can go kill. If he's thinking that, okay, wrong livelihood, but it might not be a wrong livelihood if what he is thinking, oh, I'm going to nourish these beings. So I'm just saying, there can be some complexity there. And what are your intentions and what's it doing to your mind? I think that's really where you got to look. In great part, there are certain livelihoods that are just absolutely no, like trafficking in human beings, trafficking in animals, trafficking in poisons. Like those are definitely out in terms of the kind of livelihood that you want affecting your karma. Okay, so we've gotten through the wisdom part, we've gotten through the virtue part, and now we're at the samadhi, stillness part, and that 6, 7, 8. That right effort is not just about like trying and try harder or anything like that. It's about shifting the mind strategically out of unwholesome states and into wholesome states. And if you've been here for my previous talks, you might have noticed that I harp on this. This is probably my favorite part of the whole business, is this step 6. The Buddha broke it into 4 parts: preventing unwholesome states. Put a lot of effort into that. Don't have a very important conversation with your spouse before you've had coffee. That's prevention. And don't waylay your spouse on the way to the car to work to say, we really need to talk about this financial thing that made you mad last time. Right? Like that's prevention. Getting good night's sleep so that you're not Mr. Cranky or Ms. Cranky the next day. That's also prevention. For some people, staying away from situations where alcohol is served might be an important prevention. Like it's very uniquely tailored to you and your weaknesses. What do you need to prevent? There may be some things that you need to prevent with every ounce of your life energy, because it's like a quicksand for you. I, by nature, am a hater. There's some that are by nature tend to be a bit more greedy. So a bakery for them is a disaster. There are some by nature who tend to be more delusional. Maybe say, for example, their kid is on a flight and they're really leaning into worry. And so they're sitting there thinking of all the ways the plane can crash. Okay, that's the disaster for them, to allow themselves to go into that kind of mental state. Okay, what's a disaster for you? For me to be sitting here thinking about why so-and-so is a bad person because they did this and that, like that is my absolute quicksand situation. I must prevent. If it means I have to get up and leave a situation so I'm not indulging in those thoughts, then that would be the thing I need to do. But whatever it is that has worked for you in the past, collect that information and make it accessible easily to you, whatever way it takes. If it means writing it down, do that, or just rehearsing, or just thinking about it, thinking through it, rehearsing. What am I going to do when this and that comes up? What am I going to do when the people around me are gossiping? What's my response to prevent? Okay, so very unique to you. Number 1 of step 6 is prevention. The second part of step 6 is overcoming whatever unwholesome states have arisen. We actually need to know what the unwholesome states are. Anything rooted in greed, hatred, or delusion. Anger. Unwholesome. Okay. Selfishness. Also, mindfulness. Okay. Peace, patience, love, kindness, uplift, serenity, bliss, patience. Yeah, I'm just going to start listing them because I want you to remember the wholesome ones more than the unwholesome ones. Generosity, charitableness, thoughtfulness, energetic effort, mindfulness, compassion, mudita, meaning gladness of what others have as opposed to envy. There are a lot of beautiful states. All the unwholesome states are closely linked. If you're in any one of them, you're in danger of all of them. And the same with the wholesome states. If you're in any of them, you're in great, not danger, great possibility of any of them. So when you're in anger, it can shift very closely, easily to rage, to depression, to that could lead to vengefulness, which could lead to worry, which could lead to jealousy, like they're just so closely linked. Whatever unwholesome state you found yourself already in, get out. And if the unwholesome state you found yourself in is your swamp, get out with every ounce of your energy. Don't put it aside for a minute. Okay, tailored to you. Now, the last two parts are, remember there are 4. So the other 2 are about developing the wholesome side. So you bring up wholesome states that you are not already experiencing. Any of the peace, patience, love, any of the beautiful states, bring them up. Now, you may have noticed that there's some state that's kind of easy for you. What's a beautiful state that's easy for you? Anyone on Zoom? Is there a wholesome state that's easy for you? Anybody? Are you allowed to unmute? Hang on, let me jump.
Yes.
They are allowed, okay.
Compassion, to think good for someone. Metta.
Yes, compassion. Anyone got another one? That's easy for you. What's a wholesome state that's easy for you? Nobody?
Patience.
Patience. Okay, so we've got a compassionate person, we've got a patient person. Anybody here who's got a wholesome state that you know is pretty kind of strong for you? Easy at hand. Charity, generosity. Excellent. Friendliness. There we go. Friendliness. I haven't even thought of that one to say in my big list. Friendliness. Yes. Thea, do you have any? Kindness. Very good. Are there any other people who have any strong, wholesome? Caring. Okay, very good. All right. So you can develop any wholesome state in that moment that you have a wholesome state going in, all the unwholesome states are blocked. So in that instant, you're in wholesomeness. Yay, that's great. And you want to build on that. What we can do is whatever is the easy one for you, work on it, make it more present, be with it more and more and more. You actually can weaponize it against your unwholesome states. So let this be your go-to thing. Let it like wake up in the morning and think there's this strength, you know, at noon, think there's this strength, whatever it is. The Buddha mentioned 4 that are particularly powerful for many, many people. Metta, loving kindness, karuna, compassion, mudita, opposite of envy, and upekkha, even-mindedness or equanimity. So those 4 are ones that are often very, very powerful for easily overcoming unwholesome states. And do not think that just because it's easy for you to have this or that wholesome state, that it's somehow less than. That's what people often do. So we want to, okay, so that's step 6. 7, right, mindfulness, be here now and a whole lot more. And go write old books on that one for foundations and all that. And step 8, taking moments apart for the stillness, like really getting the mind away from the hindrances and bright and beautiful and calming into greater and greater clarity to where you can see how things actually are here and now. Okay. So this is kind of this recipe for how to have a happy life. It's a recipe for how to bring more goodness into your life and into the world, how to train your mind, how to have a more spiritual life, and how to overcome the negativities permanently to even achieve stages of enlightenment. So yeah, drop by drop, step by step. If something is difficult for you, it means it shouldn't be, right? Okay, so I want you to consciously take the word should and toss it in the wastebasket. Try to exhort yourself. I will never, ever again use the word should for my spiritual practice, my spiritual efforts. Rather, I mean, it will be wholesome, it would be good, it will be beneficial, but should is just toxic. It's just a toxic word, it's a toxic approach. And particularly when it's applied to your meditation and the results of your meditation. If something is difficult for you, that's because all the conditions at this moment have made it so, and that is the cutting edge of your practice, and it's okay. It's okay. And try to be gracious with whatever the moment is right here and now. And that's giving you a better moment in the next moment. That makes sense? Okay, I think with that, then I'll conclude this talk.